Look, I know we're all feeling really down about Manchester City continuing to win, but remember the entire reason Tottenham Hotspur exists: to make their fans miserable. This is the Arsenal Vision post-match podcast. My name's Elliot, the Black Man, Twitter, Yankee Gunner. And what would make their fans more miserable than their own team handing Arsenal a title just a few days before season ends? I mean, that's the point you got to remember. Tottenham Hotspur exists for others to laugh and their fans to be miserable. I do just want to say that the article proposing that Tottenham were about to enter a new Arsene Wenger-style golden era may have been premature. That the article suggesting that Tottenham might be on pace to be ahead of the Invincibles even may have been a bit premature. And the reason I say that is in their last 3 games, I noticed they have conceded more goals than we have this entire calendar year. So that is a sign that you may not be entering an Arsene Wenger-style golden era, nor are you invincible. In fact, they might just be the Vincibles. And I will not do the Ange out hashtag read along because that is squarely the purview of Andrew and James, who did it on the Arscast, and it's every bit as entertaining as you'd expect. So I will leave it to the experts on that front. I do want to send a bit of a melancholy note. Michael Donnelly got in touch. Michael and I met in the New York event just a little while back. Clive met him as well. Kevin Donnelly, his father, passed at just 59 recently, sadly. And so I just want to say to Michael, you have our condolences, our thoughts and our love with you, our thoughts and memories of Kevin, whom I have a lovely picture of myself and Michael and Kevin together. And so our condolences, our sympathy to you and your family. Of course, at a time when we also remember Daniel Angerin, gone far, far too young. He was celebrated at the Arsenal game over the weekend, and a lovely thing to do, but not a lovely thing to have to do. So just a few melancholy notes there, but this will be certainly an upbeat podcast, at least until we talk about Manchester City, I would expect. We have lots of content that we'll be doing over on Patreon for you this week. And we did, I think, one of the more fun instant reactions that we've done in a while. By the way, the instant reactions now are done live right at full time and are available to stream the video. So if you want something literally right at full time, they're over there for patrons as a video stream. And then, of course, you get the audio as soon as it's done recording. So just a little heads up there. Okay, we're going to talk about Arsenal winning again, because that's literally all we do. We might talk about how to celebrate this greatness in the context of what Manchester City are doing, and look ahead to Manchester United. At time of recording, Manchester United have not yet lost to Crystal Palace, but we'll probably cover their loss to Crystal Palace with a special Schadenfreude episode after that. Here with me now is Clive. You can find him on Twitter at ClivePFC. Hello, Clive.
Hello.
And Tim, you can find him on Twitter at Stillman. Hello, Tim.
Hello there.
Just real quick, Tim, do you think Ange has it all figured out? I mean, is it an Arsene Wenger-style golden era for Tottenham Hotspur? Is that what we're witnessing? Because it feels sort of different just because of all the losing, but maybe I'm not seeing it.
Yeah, I mean, this is the thing is you could see this in Tottenham all season, and essentially what's happening is some of the chickens, as it were, kind of just coming home to roost a bit. They got quite a bit of luck in their early season run, and again, like I don't know, maybe it's not like the purview of some of these outlets, but like really, guys, like every season this happens. Not necessarily Spurs, but like someone is near the top in like November, and everyone starts going, maybe they can win the league, and it's like you've all got FB ref and stuff like that. You don't have to be like a data whiz. Just give it a little look, right? And it's as simple as, does it look like they can do that for 38 games? And usually, quite often the answer is no. Sometimes they can, sometimes they do. But yeah, just have a little look at what's actually kind of going on. And I think a lot of people will spare themselves a bit of pain. And Tottenham are the most infantilized team, I think, in the media, because they do that thing where they kind of look like they might challenge the more established, successful clubs, and they don't. So like they're in this kind of cycle with this pity cycle with a lot of the media where people want them to do well, and objectively I understand that because they want like a different team to do something, and it quite often looks like it might be Tottenham. So everyone really hypes them up and like, oh yeah, it's Tottenham, yes, like we really want this, we really like this, and then but then they never get the success, which means that people don't like them and get bored of them. So they're in this real pity cycle, and I think we've seen it a lot this season.
Yeah, and by the way, you referenced something that I think is just worth mentioning. The underlying metrics thing, like people roll their eyes out of their head at the expression underlying metrics. And I do get it because I think that there are people, not all people, by the way, but some people who will use data as a cudgel, will use it to say, I know better, will use it to be condescending to people who maybe prefer not to use data as much in their analysis. And I hate that. I don't think that's the right thing. But I think that there are times when having access and understanding to the data can be helpful. And like you can go back to the Arsenal era under Unai Emery, when the winning run was going on, but the data said something wasn't right. You didn't need to be a data expert. Your eyes told you something wasn't right, but no one wants to think about it when it's going well. Because to be fair, when it's going well for your football club, you should try to enjoy it. But if you're going to analyze it, there was plenty of evidence that something wasn't right. And sure enough, it wasn't right. With Tottenham this season, they looked like a team that didn't really know how to defend. They did some things that made you go, is that right? Can that possibly be right? The data was telling you, your eyes were confirming it, that it wasn't right. And it's proven not to be right. With Liverpool this season, it felt like they were just kind of doing it on vibes. There was some data suggesting defensively they were getting away with it. Your eyes told you that too, didn't they? But they were top of the table, so it must be fine. And sure enough, what happened? It wasn't fine. Now, the irony, of course, is that's not always predictive because guess what? The underlying metric for Arsenal before January of the season told you something wasn't quite right with the attack. Did it continue to not be quite right? No, we fixed it in Dubai. Don't want to know exactly what we did in Dubai necessarily because who knows how toward or untoward it may have been, but we fixed it. So sometimes it's predictive, sometimes it's not predictive, but I think it can always be interesting to confirm maybe what your eyes are telling you anyway. So what my eyes are telling me is that we are great, Clive. We are great. We have won again, this time 3-0, and I think probably got to thank Declan Rice for that final goal because it looks like if we have any chance of this coming down to goal difference, Manchester City are not going to be content to let us run away with the goal difference aspect of it. They're going to hunt us down like the T-1000 Terminator that they are. But it is another chance for Mikel to play Party in midfield, to play Tomiyasu at left back, to play Kai Havertz at center forward. Trossard seems to have made the left wing position his own, and it's delivering a fluidity and a dynamism to our game that I think is maybe even one step forward from where we had been, which was quite good. So before we dig into the particulars of the game, and I think this is a game where the incidents can give us good access to the discussion, but let's just talk about that. Party in the midfield, Rice at left 8, Tomiyasu at left back. Is this right now, for what we've got, do you think this is the best version of Arsenal that we're finally seeing here and we'll see for the last couple of games of the season?
See, I'm loath to say this is the best version. This is the version we have now, and I think it feels and looks really, really good. But I've also seen the Rice, Havertz, Odegaard version with Party at right back. We've seen that. We've seen the Rice, Jorginho version in periods where that was excellent. We've seen the left back change a lot, and all of them had their moments where we've been really, really good. And what I'm trying to get to, Elliot, is we will always find a new solution, and I hope we do, because that's what's happened to Tottenham. When they first started the season, no one had any data on them. No one knew what they did. As soon as you had a small amount of data on them, as soon as they lost one player for an injury, bang, they were done. Right? They can't repeat. They've got no other way of playing. Everyone's had a good look at them. Everyone knows their goalkeeper's like a dandelion in the wind, so we chuck it under his chin. And then everyone knows their centre-back, Van der Ven, he has the whole pitch to cover, so he runs around with a cape on. And Romero does exactly the same. Well, you can't build a team around those two. You're giving them too many jobs to do. Do you think people are dumb? They've got laptops like us. They can have a look, right? And they can put the ball into spaces and push them back. So same for Arsenal. I don't want us to get hung up on a certain 11. Because as soon as we do, you know what's going to happen? Someone's going to find out. We're going to find out. Let's just go back a short period. Should be a short period where we're really happy with our team. Kivior and Jorginho played in some of the big games. I think they got found out in the Bayern Villa games a little bit. They got found out. You know what? We flipped it again, gone somewhere else. You know what? They'll probably get found out for in a particular phase. Then we'll have to go again. Do you see what I mean? I in my head, I'm trying not to get hung up on certain things. However, I will say, if we'd have picked our midfield at the start of the season, we'd have picked this one. Most of us, wouldn't we? If everyone was fit and available, we would have picked this one. So Go ahead.
Can I say something about that, though? Because I think this is really interesting. It's so funny you said that, because it is hard to go back and think of where your head was in the summer. It's really hard, and sometimes you just pretend you thought something you didn't. But try to be honest. We thought a fit Jesus would be our number 9 locked on.
Yeah.
We thought...
We talk about midfield,
because Mikel told us.
We talk about midfield.
Yeah, I'm getting there. Yeah. I'm getting there. We thought, as a result, Kai had been bought to be left 8. That's kind of what Mikel told us. That's what we thought. We thought we might have a fit Thomas Partey, and we know Odegaard has a role. And if you can think back to summer, we were actually saying, where is Rice's role in this team? If Kai's left 8 and Odegaard's right 8 and Partey is fit and Jesus is up front. Now, we haven't had to answer that question because Kai has become our 9 and Rice has become our left 8. But it is an interesting one, isn't it, Clive, that like we sit here and we say this is probably the midfield we all would have picked. But that's only really become the case because Kai has graduated from a midfielder to a striker, you know?
Yeah, well, I think this is... Let me rephrase that slightly. This is the midfield I would pick for big games, because I think there are different types of football matches, right?
Fair point. Yep.
You don't need to pick this midfield for Luton at home. Do you see what I mean? It's all about smashing and domination and crucial points accumulation. That's where we are right now in this phase of the season. I actually quite like Zenchenko in the first phase of this season, when we're accumulating points and we're stylistically on top of teams at home and the sun is shining, the Emirates grass is perfection. Why can't we play an inverted left back? Do you see what I mean? Against some teams, I just think, I keep coming back to it. I know I'm probably bore you to death at it. I don't really care about first 11s. I care about solutions. I care about being able to adapt and change in game and have a solution for a particular day. And there's no greater example than in this game than the left back we chose for this game. And I tell you now, I wouldn't have picked him maybe for this game. I'm thinking we're going to dominate them. I think we're going to put them on. We're going to have the ball, so maybe we can have a bit more ball playing. And then I see the sides of their right wing, and I'm thinking, hold on, we've got the right left back for this day. Do you see what I mean? That's where we need to be. Do you see what I'm going? That's where we need to be.
I do. Yeah, and you're right about the versatility, and it is interesting because, I mean, what's made Declan Rice such an interesting signing is he's been a lot more than I thought he'd be. I don't mean in terms of how good he is. I mean in terms of what he can do. I thought Declan Rice was kind of your stick-on 6, not necessarily your ball progressor, cover a lot of ground, break up counters, allow us to dominate territory and clean things up. And look at what he's been able to do. He'll get in the box and score goals. He'll recover the ball. He'll make gut-bursting, pitch long runs to get in the box and score a goal in the 90th plus 8. His versatility, and I don't mean versatility as a knock on him because he's elite, but his versatility has surprised me, and I think given Mikel a lot of options of how he can play. Clive, you wanted to come back on that?
I didn't really speak about midfield. I didn't really answer your question, really, to be honest, mate. But what I will say
that's not particularly unusual, would you say?
Yeah, well, it's not unusual. I've been told, the Disco Boys have told me in the past. But what I do from watching the game again and seeing how we play, I do like, it's almost like you're passing the ball up the stairs. You know what I mean? You're passing up the stairs in 3, and you can almost see us zigzagging through the centre of the pitch. And I do like that. I do like the balance and the cohesion they have. It's really nice to watch. It really is.
It's interesting. I remember one Chelsea manager, maybe you guys can tell me, I think moved Conte up a line. And Chelsea fans hated it. They don't think they got the best out of Conte. Moved him up a line. What are you doing? You can cover all the ground. You're not playing him in his best role. But here's what's interesting. I kind of understand, because look at what we did with Declan Rice. We moved him up a line a little. The huge Saka chance he gets that he kind of casually hits first time and doesn't finish, where Kai slides it across to him and he's open in the box. That comes from a really good Rice ball recovery. But he's only able to recover it because he's up a line. He's higher up the pitch. And so instead of taking the ball off players in our defensive third, he's taking the ball off players in the attacking third, in their defensive third. And so you can create a lot of devastation that way. And you get a lot of critical ball recoveries. And Tim, I do want to get into some incidents, but do you want to just sort of finish off quickly on this version of Arsenal and maybe a little bit on that, the fact that I think what Declan Rice and Kai Havertz have done for us with their versatility, with their comfort playing in different zones of the pitch, is let Mikel pick the players he wants on the pitch and kind of let them just solve for territory. They're positional football, right? Just go stand in the space that you're needed,
Yeah, absolutely. And Rice did this at West Ham. Rice had 2 seasons ago. He was very much their 6, and Tomiyasu got into double figures, I think, for goals that season. They swapped them around last season. They put Rice further forward. Souček didn't score, but Rice, not the sort of numbers he's on this season because he's not in as good a team, but they put him in a box-to-box role. They sacrificed, Souček had scored a lot of headed goals in particular. They still sacrificed him because they thought Rice was better in that box-to-box. In like an old-fashioned 4-4-2, Rice would be your Vieira, really. And what did we do next to Vieira? Vieira had a defensive partner next to him. It was Petit, it was Gilberto, it was Gilles Gramondi. Vieira wasn't the one anchoring the team. And I have no compunction about putting those two in the same sentence, by the way, Declan Rice and Patrick Vieira. I think this is as close as we've come to a Vieira-like figure in midfield. And I like him in this box-to-box. I think he can play the 6 very, very well. All good, particularly perhaps in games, like Clive said, early season, we're going to dominate. Perhaps we want a centre-forward and we want Havertz in midfield, and Rice being in the 6 almost just gives you another attacking player, almost. But I like him in this position a lot. I don't think we have to choose. I'm not in that headspace, really, like a lot of people seem to be. I do understand the point about what do we buy next, kind of thing. But I'm very relaxed about it. I like him in this. I like him on the kind of exterior of the pitch as well. There's a lovely part of this game where he's in the left back position and there's no one anywhere near him, and he just drives on the outside and wins a throw-in, and that kind of stuff is really invaluable as well. And I think when you've got an engine like he has, and he is good at getting in the box and finding those spaces as well, but when you've got an engine like that, I kind of think use it, it, squeeze it for all it's worth.
And frankly, could a twinkle-toes James Maddison provide the clever flicked assist for Leo Trossard that Rice does? Of course he could. But he couldn't do the ball recovery that leads to the Saka chance. He couldn't have the lung-bursting box-to-box run that leads to the third goal. Maybe in our search for a left 8 who's a goal-scoring assisting machine, we've kind of overlooked that Rice has that in his locker, but then he can do all these other things that your left 8 usually can't do. I mean, what do we praise Odegaard for? Yeah, he can shoot, and he can pass, and he can control the ball. His engine is the thing I think we always clap him for, right? That he can press and recover and run all day. And Rice is that, I was going to say on steroids, but I don't want to cast aspersions. He's that amplified, just maybe not with some of the outrageous technical level of Odegaard, but maybe we need to stop thinking about a left 8 as having a certain physical appearance.
I also think the other thing as well is almost not to think of our midfield as a 3, but while Havertz is up front, it's more of a box. So you've got like Odegaard and Havertz as dual 10s, and then like a parallel line between them, and at the moment Partey and Rice behind them. So you've got that box shape, and of course it can fan out into a bit of a diamond. So Rice is on the left of it, but I don't think of it like a 4-3-3. I think of it much more as that kind of box shape, and Havertz being up front is allowing us, almost to play like he kind of is the left 8, Havertz, in a lot of phases of play, particularly when we're building or off the ball. And both of Rice and Havertz's versatility means they can be in different places in different phases of play.
Yeah, what do you think about that, Clive? Because I actually thought in this game, Rice was getting really far over to the left at times, right? He was occupying more of a clearly left-sided position maybe than he has at other times.
Yeah, he's always been a lefty centre mid to me. So, but he's got legs, right? So back to just a line down the middle. He likes the left-hand side, and it's natural for him. And yeah, you can call it a 3-box-3. You can call it a 4-4-2 off the ball. You can call it many different things. In the end, it's really what's really clear at the weekend was our relationships are really looking quite nice. And it was only enough. It really epitomised late on, and it's not a critique, by the way, because it got better. When Jesus came on and Ben White had the ball right back, and they didn't quite know how to pass to each other. So Ben White ran with it 5 or 10 yards, and they just ran offside. And I thought that's almost like the first uncohesive moment of the game. Do you see what I mean? And it made me realise how well timed we are, how cohesive we are. And I thought, crikey, this team is really good. But it really stood out to me in that bad moment. Next time we got the ball, he flicked it to me inside. Jesus sets up the goal, and we're all happy, right? So it's just that one moment we realise that the wavelength they're all on is really significant. I do think on the midfield side of things, hey, look, I'm already looking forward to changes. We could ease. I look at midfield as the first midfielder, the second midfielder, the third midfielder, and the fourth midfielder. Havertz is like the fourth midfielder and our centre forward, right? So the third midfielder seems to be Odegaard, but I'd love to see Odegaard be the second midfielder on occasion, and you can see that developing. And Havertz being the Odegaard as like the third midfielder, and then a new centre forward comes in, and suddenly we're all saying, look at the balance of this team. Do you see what I mean? And we need to evolve that way potentially. And Odegaard as a centre mid deeper in the first phase of the build-up. I mean, if you look forward in his career, that's where it could end up quite easily, and he'd be excellent at it.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of different ways you can configure this group, and I still think it works. I do think one thing that's an interesting point about Partey coming back, it really lets Rice get into that comfortable left-sided space. I mean, he spent some of the season playing more on the right, and I think, I don't want to bring up a topic that just winds up getting so polarizing, nauseatingly polarizing, but one of the problems with Zenchenko is I think when Zenchenko is in, it throws off a little bit of that dynamic and where Rice plays, and maybe he slides to the right, and we configure the midfield a little differently, and just give Rice the keys, let him be more comfortable on the left-hand side. You don't need, I thought Tomiyasu was great in this game, but I don't think you need the inverted left back thing playing 65 passes a game. On average, Zenchenko plays the most passes per 90 of any outfield player we have when he plays. Now, that's a great thing about Zenchenko. He's so great at that, and I think we should respect that talent. I just don't think that's what we want. I don't think we need the inverted left back being our number one passer in a game when we have these other players out there who can, I think, deliver even more devastation without needing that from your left back. So, Clive?
That's a really good point. I want to delve into a little bit more if you don't mind. Because me and Tim,
I'd love that.
Me and Tim talk about this with the women's team, right? So,
just like I said, we're going to get to all the incidents of the game and use that as the access point to the conversation. We'll just stick with the lineup.
I think that's a really good point. Do we want our inverted left back having the most touches? Me personally, I want to make sure we're playing in the right areas of the pitch. Tim, what do we talk about the women's team? Sometimes our centre backs in the women's team have so many touches. I'm on the WhatsApp to him saying, come on, move this forward quicker. We don't want the risk being in our last line. We want the risk being higher up. We want it being higher up. And it just triggered a message in my brain. We can always use data, back to your first point, to say why someone is good. He's had the most passes, the most final entry thirds. But are we playing in the right spaces for us to be effective and efficient and cohesive? There's a debate to be had. On some days it works, on some days it doesn't work. But what's our principle? Where do we want to play? And I think it's such an important question we should ask ourselves when we're assessing players.
And to your point, in this game, who were our top three in touches? Martin Odegaard, Thomas Partey, Declan Rice. Probably draw it up that way if you could. I mean, you'd probably draw it up if you could have your top three most touches be like Bukayo Saka, Kai Havertz, and Leo Trossard, if you get my point. But your three talented elite midfielders that you expensively acquired and developed, those are the guys, and those were the guys. And to that point, Tim, this game is interesting. First of all, congrats to us. We survived the first minute against Bournemouth. It did look a little deja vu. They were right down in our a defensive third inside of 1 minute. I think had a free kick that Raya punches well. Tim, they had the first shot of the game. Off target, a header, kind of speculative. And after that, we had 18 shots before they had their next one. This reminded me of a game I was at this season, the Newcastle game, in terms of just, is there another half of the pitch? Did you ever see that Batman movie where he sets off a bomb inside of a NFL stadium and the pitch just collapses in? If that had happened and our defensive side of the pitch had collapsed in, I don't think it would have had any. I mean, David Raya, we would have missed him, and we're sorry to see him go. But everybody else would have been fine. And yet there were some incidents where we could have chucked it away. A bad back pass from Gabriel that Raya is there to sweep up, and another bad one from Gabriel that Saliba comes and recovers. And it just shows you football. no matter how dominant you are, and we were as dominant as I've seen us, it is about getting your goals. And like, this is why I think we all believe there's still a level we can go up by going into the market and adding killers up front, because we just didn't. This was a game we should have been 3-4 up at halftime. We couldn't convert that dominance into goals. So what did you make of a half that saw, I think, Arsenal be as dominant as we've been, but not as ruthless as we needed to be?
Yeah, it's bizarre, isn't it? Like, we should have been 3-0 up after about 20 minutes, didn't score, and actually we scored all of our goals at times where it felt like we deserved them less.
Did you see what Iraola said, by the way? I have to give him credit because he disagreed with the decisions, but said Arsenal deserved to win.
Yeah.
They were better than us. And I think, to Iraola's credit, that is the best analysis, because I don't know if we deserved the decisions we got, but we certainly deserved a heavy victory.
Yeah, like 3-0 was the right score. It's just,
at least, yeah.
It basically should have been done after about half an hour.
Mm-hmm.
I think I read Adrian Clark's column about the game, and he said, I don't think I'll have the numbers exactly right, but how many shots did we have in the game overall? Is it
we outshot them
25, I think.
25. Yes,
24-7.
24.
24-7.
Okay,
yeah. Mm-hmm.
So the first 21 shots apparently came in the first 68 minutes. And then the last 3 came in the last 22, and we scored 2 of them.
Yep.
So obviously the game was a bit more stretched then. And, so there was probably a degree more comfort in the chances. But I thought the way we started this game was so good. Because not just because it was great football and we were suffocating them, and our centre-backs are positioned about 30 yards from their goal and they can't get out, and it's all desperate blocks and all of that, and you feel it in the crowd, that energy. But for me, like, I know we can play like that. I've seen us do it like all season long. For me as well, at this stage, so much of it is about holding your nerve. At this stage, we know we have to take every point available now, and even then it might not be enough, but we know that. And to go out and for that not to look like it was remotely on their minds, that they just went out, played their football, and just said, if we do what we all pretty much always do, they haven't got a chance. And so that was the thing I was most pleased to see. Like, this level of dominance, I'm used to that. I know we can do that. The question for me coming into this season, coming into this spell, can we do that in April and May? Can we do that when the only thing that matters is the result? And the answer is yes so far. And that's what really pleases me so much, because I've, to your point, how many home games have we done this? How many teams we done 5 or 6-0? Like, I know we can do this. For me, it was about the situation, the pressure that we were under. I think there's different pressures as well around whether you go first or go second. I think they both bring their own pressures in terms of when you kick off versus your rivals, because once you get into April, it's never at the same time. You're both on TV, and both of those things bring different things. And what's interesting psychologically as well is that we're kind of chasing and leading at the same time because of this game in hand. So we come into this game and we're top, but we also know that City have got that game in hand. So we're kind of chasing at the same time, and to be able to deal with that as well. So tactically, this just repeated a load of stuff that we've been seeing all season long. And we've seen numerous times. For me, it was about, can we do it under pressure? And I think in the last few weeks, we're really, really showing we can. That's what pleased me most, because in the normal run of things, I would have expected this, even against the team as good as Bournemouth.
Yeah, and it's interesting. Paul said this in the instant reaction. He was sort of joking, but I think he also made a really good point, which is we had so much of the ball and so much of the territory that we almost needed them to have it a bit, because they were blocking so many shots. I saw the stat. I don't have it in front of me. They blocked a ton of shots, but like, they were so compressed that in some instances they had 11 players inside their own penalty box when we were attacking. And it made it really hard for us to find the space. It's funny, when I take notes on a game as I'm watching, I have sort of 3 tiers of note taking so I can refer back to it when we're doing the pod. Just a written note, right? Like, I'm typing it out. Just regular case note. Uppercase if I need to like just have my eye drawn to it. And then uppercase bold if it's one of the key talking points of the game. And the whole half is either uppercase or uppercase bold because there's just so much that we did well. Right off the bat, Kai has a shoulder barge. Rice has a long carry. He carries it probably too long, gives it to Saka. The pass isn't great, and we get the corner from it. Odegaard gives it to Leo for a blocked shot. It falls to Odegaard. His shot is blocked. Kai gives it to White, gives it to Leo Trossard for a blocked shot. It was just one thing after the next like that. And then a moment that I know you want to talk about, Clive, and I don't want to go too deep on it, so I'll ask you if we can keep it to like 2 minutes, roughly, which is another challenge that probably could be and maybe should be a red card. Christie on Saka. It's now 3 out of 4 games where there's been a challenge like that. One in the Wolves game was that one on Tomiyasu? The one on the Wolves game? One in the Chelsea game. Yeah, Nico Jackson, I want to say a clumsy one on.
Havertz.
Chelsea was Tomiyasu, Wolves was Havertz.
Wolves was on Kai, that's right. Yeah, because both folded their ankles, then both got up and were fine. And then this one, we saw the holes left in Saka's shins, and it's not even penalized. Now, Dale Johnson said something interesting in his VAR review article, and I did not know this. If they send him to the screen, he can give a yellow. Now, that's interesting. They can't send him to the screen to review a yellow, but if he misses the challenge and they think it might be red, they can send him to the screen. And if he still doesn't want to give a red, because the on-pitch referee controls all discipline, he can give a yellow. Now, if he had given a yellow, Christie would be off anyway with the second yellow late in the game and probably could have had one just minutes after that. But I think it's red. I don't know if it has to be red, but he just comes in for such rough treatment, Clive. And, the way he's spoken about, in terms of he's always limping, he's always staying down. Well, because he's kicked pillar to post,
Yeah, I may not be the best person to answer this question. Well, maybe I am, right? So I look, we're Arsenal people. And
we'll be judging. We'll see.
And we have one eye. And we have one eye. We try to be objective, but we are Arsenal people, right? So if someone wrongs any of our people, I'm there to defend them, right? Simple as that, whether they be on the pitch or off the pitch. That's the way I've been brought up, right? So, and so I do find it quite disconcerting how he is particularly treated and viewed on the pitch. It's hard for me to say what I really want to say. However, there's evidence growing that he's not as protected as he should be. People can say their reasons why. My view is he should be protected more. But hopefully I'd say that for other players that are getting kicked off the pitch, because these guys are the protagonists. These are people we want to see. We don't want to see David Coots, whatever his name is. We don't want to see him. We want to see the players, right? No one leaves their house at 7 a.m. or wakes up in the US at don't know what time to watch the referee and discuss VAR, learn things about VAR. Here we sit here on May the 6th that none of us knew, that we can review yellow cards. If that's where we are, we're missing what the game is. And the referee's job is to protect the players and manage the game. And they're not doing it. But I tell you what, I've watched Havertz's penalty a million times. I've watched the Bournemouth disallowed goal a million times. But I haven't watched the Saka tackle a million times. And honestly, of all the incidents, that's the one we should be focusing on. When a guy gets topped on his knee, is it okay just for him to take that? I won't be tired the day he retaliates. Trust me, we'll see that a million times. We will definitely.
He's going to kick out at someone. He's going to kick out at someone eventually. Yeah.
Do you remember Tim was at Wolves? There was one of the Wolves centre back or left side centre back had a go at Saka, and Saka went for him and he showed him off the ball, and he moved him about 10 yards, moved him onto his arse, shoulder to shoulder, fairly. But I saw the ferocity he went into that challenge with, and I thought, aye, he's starting to stand up for himself. That's what he needs to do. And it may cost him a red, but he needs to do it, because at the moment, being a nice guy isn't working, because he's not getting protected. He isn't getting protected. You can go where you want to go with it. Sometimes players have a perception, particularly amongst our English referees, that it's okay to let them have it. And you can go where you want to go as to why, but I don't like it. I just see players as players, and particularly players that have skill. They need to be looked after, and it should be a priority. I don't mean overly looked after. I just mean looked after. There are people online who are well smart that have dropped out the Vieira sending off and put it next to the Saka challenge, and it's exactly the same. It's exactly the same. So why does one not get a card? And maybe the referee is paying advice, but I've got a few instances in my mind where this kid is getting off the floor, and I think there are things there that I really can't say it. I don't want to say them, but if you guys know me well enough, you know what I want to say, because I don't want to be labeling people like that or labeling my own analysis like that. But I have eyes. And I know what I'm seeing. I honestly, this is not something that's come into my mind in the last few days. I know what I'm seeing. And when we have a quieter time in the year, I'll tell you a lot more about this and what we have to do as black people in this country to make sure you have the right opportunities, to make sure you're viewed in the right, correct way. I will talk to you a lot deeper about this, but right now I'll just leave it there.
I think it's a really respectful and intelligent way to say it, because ultimately you don't know what's in someone's heart, and you want to be careful about the kind of accusations you make about a certain individual. But we could certainly look at situations like the way Raheem Sterling was talked about as a young man. Daniel Sturridge went through things like that. Some of the ways Bukayo Saka is analyzed, and compare it with, other England players like a Harry Kane, for example. And there are questions raised. I'll defend the referee in this one respect. This case, the ref didn't see it at all. Literally didn't see it. It's not that he saw it and didn't give it. He didn't see it. And the VAR doesn't send him to the screen. So if a ref doesn't see something and the VAR doesn't send him to the screen, then what can he do? Had he been sent to the screen, he may have opted to take action. Clive?
I'm not about. It's not about accusing the referee per se.
No, of course. I didn't mean you were. I'm adding that. Yep.
Yeah. Because we all miss things, right? We all see things in certain ways. That's why the rule book or the laws have the word interpretation on it. This is a much broader conversation about inherent biases that appear in all of us. Right? We're all conditioned. We all have biases. I have my biases. We all have biases. Why wouldn't a subset of people that official the game not have biases? Of course they do. And it's those things that need to be challenged. When we talk about things like diversity referees, this is why we talk about it. Different people, different backgrounds can have different discussions to level out how people are brought up. The three of us here, right? We are good mates. We talk a lot. I saw Tim at the weekend. Great to see him. We are so much the same in many angles, and we're massively different in our ages, in our backgrounds, where we've been brought up, but we managed to connect. Same with you, Elliot. We're massively different, but we're the same. We're the same people, and we've learned to broaden our perspectives by talking to each other the way we do. There needs to be more of that. If we do more of that with the referees, then we're going to get more broader perspective around how you official the game. Because it's a very vibesy thing, refereeing, on a particular day. And so you have to accept that and leave room for interpretation of collisions, challenges, rules, etc. But I also feel people need to open their minds up to what's actually happening to one of our star players in England.
Yeah. But it's not that long ago. It used to be routinely said that foreigners had brought diving to the English game. And there was always bias. Bias can cross a number of lines, racial, cultural, national. I remember when Eduardo went down, was it against Celtic? I want to say. And it was like, look at what this filthy foreigners brought to our game. And I'm like, did anyone see what Wayne Rooney did to cost Arsenal their unbeaten streak? So it's, the bias just exists. It exists on a number of dimensions. Tim?
Well, just on this incident, not to go to kind of bring it back to the incident a little bit. What really frustrates me, because I missed that in the stadium. Like, I saw Saka go down. I was on the other side, so I couldn't really see the challenge. I completely understand why the ref missed it. But what really frustrates me about, like clearly there's been a directive to not really bother with serious foul play. I think we've been seeing it pretty much all season. I don't know why. I don't know who's benefiting from this. I don't know why Howard Webb and the PGMOL think that this is a good thing to do. I don't understand how they think this is making the game better, because it's not. And what really winds me up, like, look, I hate VAR, always have done, but I'm learning to live with it. It's all right. But the one thing, if it was down to me, the one thing I'd have VAR for is serious foul play. Because first of all, the first responsibility of the referees is to protect the players. That is like, what are we going to do now? Not bother with pitch inspections anymore when it's icy on the pitch and just go, nah, player safety is not important. We don't do that anymore. Like, sod it, we'll just play the game. Like, no, you do the pitch inspection because that's about the safety of the players. And like, what really annoys me is tonight, Monday evening, we're now being told that the referee's going to wear like some kind of camera for the Man U Crystal Palace game. Who's asked for this? What's
they're doing it for a documentary about refereeing? I guess. Propaganda.
Yeah. and listen, okay, I get that. Like, we do need to change the way we talk about referees and things like that. And clubs constantly, notably Nottingham Forest, citing corruption. That's dangerous. That's bad. Referees get abused too much, etc., etc. But again, it's about centering the referees, which is what Howard Webb seems obsessed with doing. And what really winds me up about this, so not only do people who commit serious foul play, they should be sent off, not just as a punishment, but also because that player should not be on the pitch to hurt someone else. But the other thing is, what happens in this bit of play? Saka goes down and he has to be treated for ages. So the game stops anyway. We stopped for the Havertz penalty for about 2, 3, 4 minutes. We stopped for the Bournemouth goal that was chalked off rightly or wrongly for 2, 3, 4 minutes. Why are we stopping for like 8 minutes of the game for that? And then when someone's got a hole in his shin and the game stops naturally anyway, why is VAR not using that time that has already been given to them to say, yeah, this guy's got to get sent off? That's a really dangerous tackle. Like, there is no logic to it. I don't understand it. And I think Howard Webb and co are in enormous dereliction of duty for safety of the players. And I wish they'd stop like getting obsessed with optics, obsessed with media, obsessed with centering referees, obsessed with like, oh, if you slightly come out of the dugout because you've scored a last-minute winner against Luton, you're not allowed on the touchline the next game, which again is about the fault that I wish they would just understand that the players are the ones who are central, protect their safety, and also protect the people who've paid lots of money to come and watch people like Bukayo Saka.
I will give you an example from the NFL, which I know all of our listeners love. The NFL recognized and realized a long time ago that the superstars of their game are the quarterbacks. And that when you have a season where the star quarterbacks are out injured, you lose viewers. If Tom Brady's not out there, you lose viewers, right? If you don't have the superstars out there, the game suffers. So what they do, they change the rules so much that basically now if you tackle a quarterback, it's a penalty, right? It's a foul. And some people don't like that, right? The game's gone soft, blah, blah, blah. But you know what it does? It keeps those quarterbacks out on the field so that they can continue to bring in viewers. Protect the players because you care about the players, but also protect the players because a league without Saka, without De Bruyne, without Salah, right? Fewer viewers, less interest. Less of a fair competition, less of a reflection of what the teams are. So it's in their huge interest to protect the players. Anyway, I think we should move off of this topic because it's taking up more time than it warrants in a day when I think there's a lot of other things that we can talk about that are really interesting. And, well, let's do this because I want to talk about Saliba. I want to talk about Kai Havertz a bit. I want to talk about how to enjoy this in the light of what Manchester City are doing and a bit on United. So we still have a lot to get to. And, you know, once again, I can already see the angry email. Elliot, where are my brands? I get it. Like, I'm sorry. Okay. We were engaged in a really riveting conversation. And I am sorry that I am derelict in my duty, much like referees, to bring you great brands that will improve your life. So I'm going to do that for you now. And the first one I'm going to tell you about is Manscaped, you know? And what do they say? Let me just read it. Hey there, beach babes. Are you ready to soak up those summer vibes and unveil your ultimate beach bod? They wrote it. That's what it says right there. Look, whether that is you or much like me, that is not you, you do probably shave your face, your chest, your privates, some area of your body. You are probably shaving and you're probably using a tool that is not purpose-built to do it, that doesn't have a long battery life, that cuts or nicks or doesn't go in the shower, leading to what I can only imagine is complicated cleanup situation. You shouldn't have your trimmed body hair on the bottom of your feet when you're done shaving. That's not where it belongs. So look, the lawnmower is awesome. The new Lawnmower 5.0 has not only skin-safe technology and is waterproof and a long battery life, but it has a foil blade so you can go completely smooth if you want to. I am at an age where ear hair and nose hair is a reality, and I'm going to level with you. It's probably a reality at any age. Clean it up. Just get a purpose-built tool. The Weed Whacker 2.0, great for that. You can get the lotions and the toners that they have available. They have face grooming tools that do both shaving and beard grooming. This is cool. Our Magic Mat disposable shaving mats got your back and front and everything else that needs grooming. It's like having a magician in your bathroom. That's pretty cool, right? So if you get all of this in the Performance Package 5.0, you also get the free Boxers 2.0, Midnight Bravo, comfort and style that fits like a dream. Get 20% off and free shipping with code ArsenalVision at manscaped.com. That's 20% off and free shipping with code ArsenalVision at manscaped.com. The summer sun is here to stay, so trust Manscaped to keep your pubes at bay. Boy, I wish I hadn't read that. This podcast is sponsored by BetterHelp. BetterHelp is an online therapy. It's therapy. It just happens to be online. The code is betterhelp.com/vision. It's really simple. We all need to work on our physical fitness, but we need to work on our mental wellness. And our mental wellness is not something we can work on without help, much like, getting a trainer for your body can help. I just think as someone who's gone through the therapy process, there's a couple of things. Matching with someone that works for you is really important. Finding the time in your day to do it so that you don't come up with an excuse not to do it. And that's where I think BetterHelp is unique. You can match with a therapist that works for you. You don't drive to an office, meet with them, be like, well, this doesn't really click for me, but this is the only person in driving range or in my area. It's more affordable. It's more accessible. You can turn the camera off if that makes you feel more comfortable. And you don't have to find the time to get in the car, drive there, spend the time there, come back, spend all the money. So I think it's just a sensible way to get access to therapy that can help you get things off your chest and just feel lighter. Visit betterhelp.com/vision today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/vision. Do it now. And finally, whether you're a world-class athlete or a podcaster like me, hey, wait a minute. We all understand the importance of mental and physical well-being and proper recovery for top-notch performance. That's why I'm excited that Unified Healing is sponsoring this episode of the ArsenalVision Podcast. Unified Healing is a new and super innovative global network of wellness centers powered by the Energy Enhancement System. If you haven't heard of the EE system yet, you'll want to listen up. The technology promotes wellness, deep relaxation, purification, rejuvenation. Whether you're here in America or hundreds of other locations across the globe, access to a center is easy and affordable. Interested in experiencing the EE system technology for yourself? Go to unifiedhealing.com/ArsenalVision to learn more and find a center near you. That's unified, UNIFYD, healing.com/ArsenalVision. No material testimonials on the Unified Healing website are intended to be viewed as medical advice or substitute for professional medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. Always seek the advice of your physician or other qualified healthcare provider with any questions you may have regarding a medical condition or treatment and before undertaking new healthcare regimen, including the system. Clive! Is that enough of that?
Indeed.
Got it. So, one thing I think makes a great center back pairing is that they pick each other up, that they can be there for each other with different qualities and different capabilities when the time calls for it. And Clive, this was not a great Gabriel game, other than his golazo he was denied. Jerks with their offside ruling. There are those referees again, thinking offside should be called. But man, Saliba goes down the pitch, chases down Solanke, makes a brilliant tackle to take it off him when he tries to cut it back inside, goes up the pitch, goes to the byline, cuts it onto his left, and nearly finds the 5-hole to score a beautiful goal. I don't know that Saliba's been at his best the last few weeks. I think Gabriel has kind of been the leader in our defensive line, picking up Saliba at a time when he's just been that little bit uncertain at times. And in this game, he was just back to his best, manipulating the ball, carrying the ball, chasing players down. Sometimes there's a counterattack, and it doesn't look dangerous against Arsenal. It's not because it's not dangerous. It's because Saliba's speed makes it look not dangerous because he just gets level with the player before they can race away. I thought this was a great return to best form for William Saliba. Agreed?
I think they're both in excellent form. I'll be honest with you. I think Saliba's reading of the game is superb. I think the way he drops off when he knows the channel balls are coming is good. I think he's improved in the air. I think on the ball, we all know he's majestic, right? So he slows down time, doesn't he? Everyone's looking at him, what he's going to do, and they're waiting for him. He's a centre back, mate. You can go and tackle him if you want, but he has that aura around him that other players don't have. I think one of the things you did say, I really liked on the IR, actually. I thought it was a really good one this week. It was, and I'm going to paraphrase you, I think sometimes when teams get near us, we may over-index what they're actually doing against us. and
because it's so rare.
because it's so
Like,
rare.
wait, they got into our defensive third.
Exactly. Without looking at any information, I can remember the Gabriel moments, but so what? Someone else was there to cover him. But I can also remember the times when he threw that left leg around the forward and just took it off him before the forward had a chance to even get near it. And he wins all the challenges. And when he doesn't win one, we all say he had a bit of a dodgy game. We are talking about, what was their XG against us? It was one of the lowest this season or whatever, something like that.
0.37, something like that. This was like 3.3 to, well, it depends whose XG you're looking at, of course. FB Ref has it 3.3 to 0.5.
Right. So quite low, fair, and I told you're absolutely right to ask the question. You're absolutely right, and I think Saliba edged it on the day because he just had a better game. He had more moments that were memorable, but they're just both so excellent, and they're both so available. And for all the games we played, these two have been there together, and they never get a rest, they never get a rotation, and every now and again they're a little bit cloudy in their heads. They do some dumb stuff, and they cover up for each other. So I think it's something we have to think about, mate, for next year. Are we going to get this many games out of these two next year, and what are we going to do? That is the real discussion, because life doesn't treat you that well. They've both got potential summer tournaments ahead of them. We know what's coming, don't we, eventually? So we have to almost project forward and make sure we do some smart succession planning for those two for next year, because they make us all sleep well. We take them for granted. And one little dodgy moment ain't going to cloud my mind at all. What clouds my mind if they have an injury? We see what happened the year before, right? And we didn't go so well. So that's the real thing for me going forward.
Yeah, we may not get to talk specifically at length, by the way, about Martin Odegaard, but I should just point out that Odegaard, especially in the first half when we were just running the show, was all over it. I mean, just all over it. He had 18 progressive passes. To put it in perspective, okay? He had 18 progressive passes. Our next closest was Saliba with 7. Bournemouth had 28, their entire team. He had 8 passes into the penalty area. Bournemouth as a team had 4. Okay. Just a phenomenal display from Odegaard, who is, really just at the very, very top of the game. 10 shot creating actions, 2 goal creating actions. Phenomenal game for him. So Tim, since you got to savage the referees before, you can now apologize because they got 2 decisions absolutely spot on. Of course, no controversy whatsoever. But all kidding aside, do you have any issue with that Kai penalty being given? Because my feeling about it is I don't like those penalties being given. I don't like that as a penalty, but it is always a penalty. Every top of the game striker, Kane made a career off it. Rooney made a career off it. You get past the keeper, you drag the leg, he takes it a little bit, and you go down and you get the goal. And so, you get the penalty, which is always a goal. Look, I'd be fine if those things aren't a penalty, but it is a penalty. It just is. Everybody knows that. It's always given,
Yeah, absolutely, because the player's not obliged to move out of the way.
Exactly.
You're right. You're right. Of course, he drags his leg, he plays for it. But yeah, I don't really understand why there's been so much discussion about this. Like you say, it's always a penalty. Move on.
Yes, a soft penalty.
Yeah.
Still a penalty. That's why it's called a soft penalty, because it's a penalty.
To your point, if those are never given, fine.
Yeah, for the record, I think I'd rather that be a penalty than the one, was it Gvardiol got in the City game, right? Where 2 players are contesting the ball, he gets to it slightly earlier, shoots way miles off, off target, and then there's a coming together, So I understand why the Havertz one is a penalty more than the Gvardiol one. Saka
they tried
takes it
hard to take it away as well, because you don't do a check that long. They were looking for a reason to take it away. That's why you do a check for as long as that.
I can't remember. Is one of the reasons they were looking to take it away. I should have noted this, but so was there an offside check in it? There might have been.
Maybe. I don't remember that, but maybe.
I'm sorry.
I was in the stadium. No one told me anything.
Well, no, you're not. You're never going to know.
Yeah,
Of
we're
course not.
just like standing there looking at the clouds, you know.
By the way, that came right after Odegaard curled it to Kai, who headed down to Rice. Rice missed far post. I love what Rice said at full time. He said he was upset with himself about that miss, that he left goals out there. We left goals out there. He certainly made up for it by running the length of the pitch to get his goal in the end. Saka takes the penalty. I have to say, I have always had just this little feeling of not trusting Saka's penalty approach, his technique, and yet he's missed once basically in 2 seasons,
and it wasn't saved.
No,
as well.
No.
So a goalkeeper, since that penalty in the Euros, a goalkeeper hasn't saved a Saka penalty. And I'm with you. I've never. I say I've never like that's too much, but I haven't felt 100% secure. But I'm beginning to, and this time as well. Like, this is a wait for the goalkeeper to move.
Yeah, he sat him down.
One, which is that those are the good penalties when someone can do that. Because so fair play.
The safest penalty you can hit is letting the keeper go first if he does. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm learning to get comfortable with him from the spot, and the lesson here is I should have been in the first place, really.
It was a great Kai game, Clive, and right after halftime, Kai had a chance to provide the assist to make it 2. It should have been 2. Rice with, as we talked about, a really good win up the pitch, gives it to Kai. Kai takes the entire defense out by sliding it across to Saka, and I think he doesn't have to take it first time is probably the issue, but he takes it first time, makes good contact, but sort of back in the direction the keeper's coming from. Look, that's one that I'm sure, again, to Rice's point, that we left goals out there, but Kai was just everywhere. Another game where he did well, and I want to ask you something. When we're frustrated with Gabriel Jesus, the discourse seems to be about he's coming to the ball too much. He doesn't get into the box. He's trying to come to the ball and get involved, and he needs to stretch. And like, Kai does a lot of the same stuff. He drops into midfield. He drops into defensive third. Early in the game, we get a really good chance from Kai winning the ball back with a shoulder barge in our defensive third. There's something about the way Kai does it that maybe is a little different from Jesus. And I'm wondering if you can pick up on that, because he gives us a focal point. He gives us a target to hit, but it's not like he's not dropping into midfield. It's not like he's not connecting the play. So how do you think about the balance he gives us in that role differently maybe from the way Jesus does it?
Yeah, at this moment in time, he's offering more solutions in all phases, right? So early in the game, there's a throwing into our right-hand corner flag, and he's made a run in behind. Not offside from a throw, he's in behind. That means he's thinking about getting in behind. So he can run the channels. He ran in behind on the penalty. He slowed down, by the way, waited for the keeper, slowed down, then nicked it past him, got the penalty. I wish he went against Manuel Neuer, because he knows how to sucker the guy into a challenge, right? So so he's smart. So he runs in behind, which is smart. Also, he can receive the ball in the air. We all know that. He can post-up turn people. But the difference is, Elliot, is the simplicity. Once he wins it, he gives it. And when you have a consistent, simplistic way of moving the ball in 1 or 2 touches, then people can run off you. When the ball goes into Jesus, what he is almost like a strong winger at centre forward, and he twists and turns and shakes and bakes. By that moment in time, the distribution from that moment is harder to read, so you don't get the fluidity in the same way. The DNA of Jesus is probably as a wider forward or a second or third forward. That's his DNA, because his feeling is, I want to trick you. I want to one-on-one you. I want to trick you. I've got my ego. I want to beat you with a little bit of power, or I want to move you off balance. But while he's doing that, things are moving away from him, moving around him. And to be honest, mate, I remember the very moment I landed on him as a wide man. And by the way, we've all watched him, live and otherwise, as a centre forward, and loved him. It was the West Ham home game. No Havertz on the pitch, by the way. West Ham home game, 1 million shots, 1 million touches in the box. Never looked like scoring. Eddie came on. Jesus went to the left and immediately had 2 stellar big chances. And he came alive because he was losing spirit in the central area. And I thought, he's not a centre forward. He's not. He's a guy that rotates in the centre forward, but he doesn't want to be there. He wants to be everywhere else, trying to steal your lunch money from your pocket. He doesn't want to be the guy that's that alpha there. It doesn't feel good. It's something I always look at with players, and me and Tim, he doesn't know it yet, but we're going to have a conversation about the women's team, about what certain players in their positions. Sometimes you have to look at a player and see what they like doing under pressure. See what risks they take. See what comes natural to them, because that's where they want to be when the pressure's at its hottest, right? And that's how you got to expand on them. And like I say, Jesus came in at centre forward. I loved it. It's only West Ham home games when I'm starting to think we have to think differently about this player if we want to maximise him. And there are other players. And for me, the Liverpool Cup game was the day I looked at Havertz at centre forward and went, "You're it, mate. You're it." And then when the Liverpool league game came and Van Dijk and Konate had a mental breakdown on the pitch, I knew that was it. I knew then when I saw them on their backsides, I knew this was our centre forward. And it is now, and it's really, really clear to all of us. And I suppose he's almost not just playing it, Elliot, he's redefining it. He's redefining it for us. Completely redefine the position to a point where we are heavily reliant on this player, and his influence is really, really growing.
One thing that's changed a lot about him too, in my mind, is I think he's doing everything a little bit more decisively now. Like he had when was it? He had a shot that was well saved by Travers, but he hooks his leg around it, like really hit it hard. It was a good pass in. He doesn't have time to react. He catches it cleanly. Travers makes a good save. It's just very decisive. His pass to Saka to take out all the defenders, decisive. The header down to Rice, decisive. He's making decisive plays. He's using his physicality really well. He's running in behind a bit. I just think it was a really good all-around game from Kai again. And it's not time for it yet because we're not quite at the summer. I definitely think it is the case that Kai's performance down the stretch in 2024 is going to be in the mind of not just fans, but probably Mikel and Edu about what the priority is in adding to attack and what we need to add in the attack. I don't know how you talk about this guy though, Tim. Leo Trossard. I don't know that I like this Trossard game. I think he's fine. I'm not going to slate him for it. But what do you do when a guy just continually finds a way to get a goal every time he plays? And not goals, important goals, because I feel that it was the 70th minute and the game had started to turn into basketball a little bit. It was opening up just that little bit. And Bournemouth are a good team. Solanke's a good player. Semenyo's a good player. They have players that can hurt you. And it starts to open up a little bit. And then what happens? Trossard finds just a little opening, a little bit of space. Long ball comes down to Declan Rice. Declan Rice plays a beautiful little pass to him, but first time finish, instinct, curl it, pass the keeper, game over, 2-0. I don't know how to analyze Leo Trossard because maybe he's the exact thing we need. A player whose impact isn't keenly felt except in the high leverage moments inside the box. I mean, look, we're not going to relitigate the Aston Villa chance because it pains us all. It may be the thing that keeps us, from lifting the trophy on the final day. But what do you think of Trossard in general and this player who just seems to have a knack for finding a goal involvement? Last season it was all assists. This season it's all goals.
Yeah, it reminds me, I'm confident this is a comparison no one's made before, but when I used to watch the under-21s like 12 to 15 years ago kind of thing, the Gnabry, Bellerin, Akpom team, and there was a German player called Thomas Eisfeld. And it was really funny because he used to score all the time, and people who weren't watching the under-21s were like, why isn't he in the first team? And I'd be like, that's the only time he touched the ball in the whole game, I assure you. And funnily enough, he played for the first team once and he scored, and it was the only touch he had in the whole game. Now, don't get me wrong, I think Trossard's influence is a little bit more than that. I think there are a couple of things here. I think the kind of getting to know this player a little bit is and I think Trossard and Havertz have a good kind of understanding and a good partnership, because what they're both good at is actually going away from the space that they're playing. They're kind of half space players, really. And you referenced Havertz going in behind. That's the thing, to me, he's really brought that Jesus doesn't. Picture in your mind's eye Jesus running onto a through ball. I can't picture it. It doesn't happen very often. Whereas Havertz, he stretches in behind, but he kind of stretches into that channel. And Trossard, I think, is another half space player. So when he plays as a false nine, he drifts out wide and he lets other people go in. And when he's playing out wide, he doesn't do the Martinelli stuff really, like out on the touchline. He's not facing up and taking on fullbacks, so he's not as high involvement as Martinelli is. And I think that's maybe where some of our frustration with Martinelli comes sometimes, because he's so high involvement, and every time he's involved, we ask him to beat a player. And that's actually quite a difficult thing to do. And we ask him to do something very difficult every time he gets the ball. Not very difficult, but something decisive every time. And Trossard doesn't really do that, but Trossard is really good at just hovering in that lane. And you look at where most of his goals come from, just hovering in that little left half space. It's how he scores against Porto. It's how he scores. In fact, Bayern, he's a bit more central. And he kind of comes in, and he's just really good. He's an off-the-ball player, basically. You've got your kind of on-ball players and your off-ball players, and Trossard's your off-ball player. And I love, the goal he scores at Wolves, for example, where it is Jesus up front, and Jesus does all the target man stuff. He fights for the ball, he fights for the cross, falls over, gets to his feet, fights to get it up. But when the ball drops in the area, if you could choose one player in this squad for it to drop to, it's Trossard. And he's one of those, he's a predictable finisher, but in the best way. Thierry Henry was a predictable finisher. So was Ian Wright as well. I never saw Ian Wright go round a goalkeeper, for example, but because it's always slotted in the corner and it's always that kind of firm sweeping motion, never gives the goalkeeper a chance. And yeah, he's won his place on the left wing for now. I don't see this team changing for the rest of the season unless there's an injury. So, for now, and who knows what will happen in August, because all the cards go back up in the air then, and there's a lot more to consider. But much like Havertz up front, Trossard is the left winger at the moment. And I think the relationship between him and Havertz has been strong as well since Havertz went up front. And I think having that focal point helps Trossard, because it allows him to just sneak into those areas. And this goal came at a point where, and I don't think I was wrong about this, but I was looking at the Bournemouth defensive line and I was like, for God's sake, bring some pace on, bring Martinelli on, because all we got to do is drop that ball over the top once. And actually, as soon as we brought Martinelli on, it's exactly what we did, and he went through one-on-one. But you know what? He didn't finish, and Trossard did. So there you go. That's kind of the difference at the moment.
Trossard had the fewest touches of any outfield player who started. He had 2 attempted take-ons, none completed. But
how many shots did he have, mate? How many shots?
4. Yeah, 4. He had 4 shots.
And that's the key. And Tim's point about him being off the ball player, I think he's really astute, because there's been a couple of articles actually that we can reference that really make a lot of sense, right? So there's a Declan Rice article last week in Athletic. Did anyone see it? I mean, where he was talking about his game. It's a stunning.
I'm sure Mikel saw it and had a word with Declan because it gave away a lot of secrets.
Well, to be honest, a lot of that stuff is pretty standard. But there's one thing that I really learned from it when he spoke about same side attack, and he said that we're really big on same side. So, I mean, we all know, right? So, how many times is the ball on the right hand side? We know he build up right. Goes to Gabriel, and Gabriel's got a pass out left, and I've done it. I've fallen for it. I've gone, mate, why are you just not picking it out left to Kivior, or why are you not picking it out left to Martinelli? And we go back to same side, right? And I'm thinking, why do we do that? And the way I've described it to you guys have been, we tap away at a cut on a boxer. A boxer's got a cut, and we tap away on that cut until he breaks till it breaks open. That's the way I've described it, without really understanding that it's a plan, that we're trying to go to the fatigue side, where we've got some pressure, some fatigue, we go back to it where it's a little bit broken and we get in. So what does that do to the left side? It changes the left-sided winger's role, because he needs to now float into the box. And I'm going to quote the second article, which is Billy's article around the second penalty box. Arrive at the second 6-yard box, arrive into that area to get your shots. And that's what Martinelli's got to do. He's got to read how we're playing, stop being a wide man all the time, get yourself into centre forward, because you've got rockets in your boots on both feet, but you're not getting yourself into the areas which are going to give you the chance to change your next phase of your career. That's what he needs to do. He needs to do more of that. Get in, bang. So we all focus on Martinelli as on the ball, sprinting with the ball, dribbling, carrying. But I think he needs to learn from Trossard and be more off the ball and be cuter in his movement, getting dangerous areas, because he's got all the ability to finish.
Yeah, and the funny thing is, to Tim's points, consecutive games where Martinelli gets in, Odegaard's pass to him in this game, brilliant. The way he goes down under almost no pressure, just to me as someone who says, right now, I don't know that I've got it in my locker to finish it. I think that'll come back. But, when there's a guy who scores every game, you're going to keep that guy on the pitch. It was interesting because Mikel waited a long time to make subs in this game and didn't do much of it, frankly. But it's one game a week now, and the only thing that matters is winning our next two and seeing what happens. So I think we're past the point of scrutinizing the use of substitutes. This isn't the teeth of the season games every 3 days. This is 2 games left. So it's however he wants to use them is fine by me. Tim, I'll let you praise the referees again, just super quick. I have to admit, when the goal was ruled out, when the Bournemouth goal was ruled out, I thought it was incredibly soft. Incredibly soft. Watching it again, I don't think Raya can get his punch off because he's been guided away from it by Solanke, who is not critically not contesting the ball. And that's why I think it's a foul.
Yep, that's exactly it. I'm with you. Again, if that's allowed, I'm not going to be raging, to be honest. But that's exactly it. Solanke doesn't challenge for the ball. If that's them both going out for a header, then yeah, but there's no challenge for the ball there. It's sly, it's subtle. Remember that one we had disallowed at Leicester last season? Ben White, another one where he did a bit more than tickle the goalkeeper's glove on this occasion,
holding his hand. Yeah,
yeah, it was like holding his hand. But it's kind of the same as the Havertz penalty. Just because it's soft doesn't mean it's not a foul. At the same time, I'm very happy to put the forefront. There are a couple of marginal decisions there that went our way. Had they not gone our way, the game might have looked a bit different. I've got no problem kind of putting that front and centre. And to your point, I think Iraola's kind of analysis, therefore, and obviously, every manager is always very publicly biased towards the decisions they think went wrong to them. But we deserved to win this game. There was no get out of jail. But yeah, either of those could have gone a different way. No problem kind of admitting that. I think they were both right, but I wouldn't have gone mad if they'd gone another way. And we have to acknowledge sometimes that decisions aren't always totally and utterly clear-cut, that you can justify it both ways, and these are two in that ballpark.
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean, to be fair, I think my opinion is we should have played 70, 80 minutes of this game with a man advantage. So it all, it all
That's
blends
the
together.
biggest bad decision, and not by the referee, but by the VAR.
Yeah, exactly. Well said.
Can I ask you a question, Elliot? Yep. It's about US sport, right? It's about, say, for example, the NBA. NBA, I think Minnesota Timberwolves, I think they beat the Denver Nuggets the other day in Game 1 in the NBA playoffs, right? And I looked at that game and I watched it and I thought, this is fantastic. In the US, does everyone focus on referee incidents in the same way that we do over here with because when I watch it, maybe I'm not an expert on the NBA, I'm trying to learn. I never see two massive discourse. They have the last 2-minute report, whatever it's called. But I don't see the discourse like we do, like I would do over here. Obviously, I'm a local, like I would do over here. So I just wonder what you think, mate. What do you think?
I mean, they haul people in front of Congress when referees get decisions wrong in this country. There was a famous one in another Minnesota game, Minnesota Vikings versus New Orleans Saints in a playoff game. I think it was those teams, and there was a pass interference call that wasn't called, and they changed the laws of the game that offseason related to that one call, which was a terrible decision that they then had to reverse what they changed the following season. So there is a lot of reactionary conversation around it over here. What I will say, though, in football is, how many goals are there in a game? Right? The decisions, I think, are inherently more impactful. If you get a call wrong that leads to a basket not being counted in basketball, don't worry. There's another 120 points your team can score. You're going to be all right. In football, a red card or a penalty likely changes the result of the game. That's the thing. It is why we focus on referees and why the job is so hard. A red card decision or a penalty decision, in most games where it is given, will dictate the outcome of the game. And I actually saw a stat. Penalty conversion in the Premier League this season is up to 92%, the highest it's ever been. That's pretty close to saying if you're given a penalty, you're given a goal. So, if they were converted at 70% or 65%, you say, all right, it's a chance to get a goal from a foul in the box. But right now it is essentially giving a goal. So these decisions, they change outcomes, Clive.
Yeah, the reason why I asked, right, and particularly on Saturday, it was a beautiful day in London. Up there early, the sun was shining, a couple of early drinks, meet up with Tim, meet up with the patrons in the box. Absolutely fantastic day. We go out and we win 3-0. We play unbelievably in the first half. And then we win the game and we roll off into the evening to enjoy ourselves. And I get home and all I hear about this game is about these incidents. And I feel as though it almost like sucked something out of me a little bit. Do you know what I mean? That wasn't the day I experienced, you know? Even on the Saka one, I had to ring home to sort of check. My wife said to me, it could be a red. Do you know what I mean? But like the rest are just, it's just, the incidents seem to suck the life out of what we're enjoying. And if I'm overreacting, please tell me. But I just had such a great day at the weekend. And you'd have thought we'd committed some sort of sin on the pitch on Saturday, where there was some beautiful football that I think people are missing, you know, while they're focusing on other incidents, which to me are not the game.
Yeah. I mean, ultimately, no one can have an issue with the result based on the balance of play. One last thing on this, the final goal. I just want to praise Declan Rice a little bit for that final goal. I think, and credit to Match of the Day, by the way, they did a good job highlighting this. The way and both the Trossard goal and the Rice goal, the way he starts on the edge of his own penalty box and is switched on, makes a lung-bursting run. And for the goal, it's 90+7, 90+8. To go all the way past the last man. Credit to Gabriel Jesus, by the way. It's a nice slip ball. It's a really good finish from Rice. And it may sound silly, but that goal could matter. It could matter. I don't think it'll matter, but it could matter. And so it's just another comfortable win where Arsenal play excellent football. And Tim, this is really the it of it all right now. We are on more than 102-point pace this calendar year. We now have our largest goal difference at this stage of season in any season in the history of the club. We have a very good chance to finish on 89 points, the second most points we've ever accumulated in the Premier League. Score our most goals, concede nearly our fewest, and just rack up fun wins along the way, by the way, because if we do win our next two games, that will mean we beat Spurs and we beat Chelsea and we beat United. And so I implore people to enjoy it absent what City are doing. But as City went on to crush Wolves, you could just see the negativity start on the timeline. How are you finding a way to enjoy the greatness without letting it be ruined by what City are doing?
Yeah, it is difficult. It is difficult because I keep having to check myself not to fall too much into like self-pity, you know, but it's because it doesn't feel fair, basically, because, you know, there are some kind of, I guess, always have been some moral question marks, if that's the kind of
Ethical?
right phrase. Yeah, ethical question marks around like Manchester City and everything like that. And look, no football team is completely free of those, by the way. Like everyone, I think, has to hold their nose to some degree around the things their clubs do. But now there's an actual genuine like legal question mark that does, you know, that does kind of make things that's hard to ignore. And the Premier League, I think, obviously think that too, because they're the ones that brought all these charges up in the first place. Like they haven't been happy to ignore this. And I do think some of that is about like, you know, the kind of competition, the level of competition. It's important to the Premier League's kind of overall popularity. And if we start to morph into like we already have really morphed into like a Bundesliga situation, that's not really that healthy. And spending regulations and stuff like that seem to be weighting now much more towards the central pot of money. For example, that's what this anchoring is about, that they're talking about, to replace PSR so that it's anchored to the central pot of money. And a lot of this is actually about reining in the likes of Manchester City and Newcastle. But
Chelsea.
yeah. But like, for the time being, it sucks because the 83 points with 2 games left, you should be champions ordinarily in most of our lifetimes. But we're in this current era where it might not be, and it probably won't be. But at the moment, I'm trying not to. The way I'm trying to anchor myself is actually like, we do have 2 games left, and we do have to win them both. So I don't want to start writing any obituaries. B, I don't want to take for granted that we are going to get those 6 points.
Yeah.
Because if we draw one of those games, that's it. It's over, basically. Like, we've lost it, and it will feel harsh and it will suck and everything. But I don't want to take that for granted just yet. And I'm trying to keep it focused on take those 6 points. And if it's enough, amazing. And if it's not, I'll have no regrets about this team. And I'm not in any mood to go back and look and think, oh God, if we'd have just done this, maybe we got 91 points or 92 points. Because the level is just that we've been at is so high. I'm not in the mood for kind of picking the bones out of things, to be honest.
I'll set the joy aside for a minute. I think there's an even more serious problem with what going up against City does to you. And I think it's a problem for Edu and Mikel. And that is, it can lead you to feel you need to change something to catch them. And that's a really dangerous place to be, because there is no guarantee we could ever be better than this. Think about it. We've never had a bigger goal difference than this in our club history. We've only accumulated more points than this in one season in our Premier League history. So the thing it can lead you to do, let's go reductio ad absurdum for a minute. Let's say you won 37 games and drew 1, and the opposition won 38 games. Would you write an article saying what Arsenal need to do to improve next season? That'd be ridiculous. You're not going to improve on that. You just got screwed. It was bad luck. You came up against someone that was slightly better than you, but you were fantastic. And I think the scary thing for Edu and Mikel is, there will, if this doesn't come off, first of all, you'll have the people, right, and I'm guilty of it too, who will say, oh, it was this game that did it, or this game, or if we had just used this player. But there's no guarantee you're going to get over 89 points and over plus 62, 63 goal difference. So the danger here, Clive, is not only that you miss the greatness and don't enjoy this. The danger is that you start looking for the mistakes that you have to fix and lose sight of the fact that actually, I'd bite your hand off for this exact same season next season. If you could give me plus 62, plus 63 goal difference and 88, 89, 90 points, I'd bite your hand off, roll the dice, and see where it leaves us. So chasing perfection can actually lead you to change something that's about as good as it can get,
Yeah, I'm with you, brother, 100%. I think chasing evolution, positive evolution is where you want to be going. And there are things that we need to just be a bit better at. But we would need to do that regardless. So the plans that we have for the summer are just plans that you have as an organisation to continuously improve, right? So, and we can all, well, not say all, we can have a great discussion about where we can have a bit more depth, maybe with a slightly different profile of player. Now we seem to solidify in Kai's position. What type of centre forward you need to underpin him so he can play the same style of football with a bit of juice on top, maybe. There are things that we can discuss, which is the fun, right? Which every fan will do with their mates, or we do on a podcast, luckily. So, but I'm totally with you. Just nice evolution, continuous improvement, learning from new experiences, and do the lessons learned like I did the year before. So last year we really seemed to focus on our off the ball play and where we played and how aggressive we are on the front foot. That's been a big part of our game, and it's made us more efficient over the longer term for the season, because we're maybe not having to work as hard for certain goals because of how we play. Next year we need to add maybe a little bit more quality in certain spaces, but the overall thing we need to add for me, and it's building. And I said at the weekend in front of Tim, actually, we need to keep building this. And so we build an aura for this team. build, and at the moment we're still doing all right, but people haven't got a lot of confidence and trust in us. So this season we've really built a position, we've really built an aura, and it needs to keep building. So we need to go to Manchester and win. We need to go to Liverpool and win. These are the next things we need to do to build that aura around this team, because at the moment, internally we believe in it, and we know we've done pretty well this year. Externally, the trust index is not high because we haven't won for 20 years, and that's our measure. So we have to keep building this aura, and you only do that by events. So when we have Bayern Munich, Villa, Bayern Munich, do we get through that week? If we get through that week, we go again. We lift in people's minds. That is the next phase for us. Then you think about the players that can allow you to overcome those hurdles, Elliot, which we didn't quite overcome this year.
Yeah, everything's so contextualized too, because let's say we win our next 2 and City drop points somewhere and we're champions. I know people roll their eyes. It could happen. It could happen. I'm not saying I expect to, but it could. You would be well within your right to say crashing out to Bayern was the best thing that happened to us. If we had a 2-legged tie against Madrid, we probably don't go on to beat Chelsea and Spurs during that window of time. And so while it was painful, it led to us winning the title, right? You could very easily say crashing out of the Champions League was the worst thing that happened to the Invincibles, but the only reason they went invincible. So context matters so much. People reverse engineer explanations based on outcomes. But Tim, it's going to feel like ash in our mouth, if we don't win at Old Trafford. Because we're so close to at least putting this thing to the last day. I just want the title to go to the last day. Let's just see what happens. But we got to win at Old Trafford first. And it is tough because United are terrible. As we sit here, they have not yet played Palace. I expect they will lose at Palace today in front of the nation. That is my expectation. I doubt they stay within 2 goals, if I'm honest. And then we will go to a wounded, scared, not particularly fussed Manchester United. But I look at their big games. They've been smoked by City and smoked by Liverpool and still managed to get a draw against Liverpool, to beat them in an FA Cup, neither game they had any right to be in. In their games at home to City and Liverpool, in the 2-2 draw, the XG was 3.6 to 0.7 in favor of Liverpool. When City went to Old Trafford, they won 3-0. The XG was 4 to 0.9. Klopp famously said after the draw, if they play like that when Arsenal come to Old Trafford, they're going to lose. I sure hope he's right. You dismiss the Old Trafford hoodoo at your peril. But Tim, if this team can't win the title for us, I would love for them to go to Old Trafford and give us something memorable, because this United team is there to serve it up, in my opinion.
Yeah, absolutely. And look, that's something we haven't done in front of fans in the league. I know those are 2 qualifiers, but in like 18 years, right? So that's a long, long time, and that's a lot in its own right. And to your point earlier about like how much we're enjoying this, like last week we won away at Spurs and smashed Chelsea 5-0, which in its own right, very, very enjoyable, but obviously it kind of gets lost understandably in the kind of title race. This, like we could enjoy that as well. And you know what? I think the Man United fans probably half enjoy it as well, because they don't want Man City to win the league. So I've spoken to a lot of United fans who are like, I think I told you about that tweet I saw about a month ago that was like, the only way Ten Hag could go down anymore in my estimation is by beating Arsenal. And and I think a lot of them aren't really asked about him staying or anything. So the season's a bit of a write-off for them. For me, this is about start exactly like we did against Bournemouth. Don't give them any hope, because that's sometimes what we've done at Old Trafford, even when we've been better than them. We're a bit tentative. We don't start brilliantly. We let them feel their way into the game. No, I want us to start this game exactly like we started Bournemouth. Take the light out of the room for them straight away and say, we're here. We're much better than you. You give up 100 shots a game. We generate about 100 shots a game. Let's do this. And really, really put them to the sword. this time. I guess my worry about this game, I don't worry so much about this team like psychologically, the Old Trafford hoodoo or anything like that. I think they've shown in the last like month or two that they're okay with living with that kind of pressure. But for me, it's more about what United do and how much do United change. Does Ten Hag just keep doing what he's doing? Is the link with Bayern Munich real? And does he check out a little bit? Is he trying to hang on to his job? I guess what I'm saying is, do they go ultra pragmatic and go, actually, what we've been doing all season really is a load of rubbish and we need to stop doing it, and let's just bolt the back door and not get embarrassed here? And if they do that, I'd be more worried than if they're doing what they've been doing for the whole season. And like, I've been thinking about it more and more. I really think there's something in Jonathan Wilson made the point after they beat Liverpool very undeservedly. And, you know, how do United give up all these shots and these chances but don't seem to concede what they should? And Jonathan Wilson was talking about how teams are coached so much to play in tight spaces and play through pressure that it's almost weird to
be under no pressure,
to be like 4-on-3 all the time, and you overthink things and you overthink the finish. And
it's the Chelsea Spurs game when they put 9 guys on the halfway line and Chelsea didn't know what to do.
Yeah, exactly. And sometimes you can have too much to think and you lose that kind of, you know, snap, snap, snap type thing. So yeah, let's make sure Trossard gets one of those early chances, assuming we generate them, and let's put them to bed and let's roll them over. And I don't think this is one Arsenal defeat United fans, I think, would probably accept for the most part.
It's a perfect storm. They have a FA Cup final. So they have every reason to look past this. This isn't even their, you know the old cliche, it's their cup final, denying Arsenal the title. It's not their cup final. They are literally in a cup final against their rival, Manchester City, who apparently all their fans are rooting for anyway, but whatever. We'll do a full United lead up, so I don't want to do it now, but I will simply say they are there to be had. And if we can't win the title, this is a game, this is a scalp, this is a result that I think would be the cherry on top of a wonderful season if we can't have the ultimate cherry on top, which we still could. We live in hope. Nothing would be more Spurs than for them to be dog shit and then hand us the title by taking points off City. Clive, final thought?
Yeah, I think do City play Fulham before this game?
Saturday morning. It's a Saturday 12:30 kickoff.
Right, so who knows what this game could be? We just don't know, right? So it could be the day of the season. It really could be. And the way I'd approach it is, it's our cup final. Make it our cup final. It's time to win in the Northwest, right? Make it our cup final and really focus on them. Change the narrative round. It is for us, it's everything. We cannot be losing this game. And I've just been reading this morning, so I don't know how true it is, but I think Harry Maguire's broken down in training. And
I read that as well, yeah.
So that means they could be playing Johnny Evans and Casemiro at the back. Mate, if we don't beat them two, then we don't deserve nothing. I'll tell you what. So it's up to us, isn't it? We are much, much better than them. I'm not buying into what they do at home. Not this team. Not with the injuries they have in defensive areas. We've got more than enough to take them and many more solutions. So treat it as our cup final and go and deal with them and then see what happens. But, who knows what we're going to be walking into on Sunday? Who knows?
Yeah. Well, we're going to have a lot of build up to that. So we'll just wait to discuss it at the time. I am looking forward to watching Palace hand United their ass in front of the world today. That'll be fun. I hope you enjoyed that as well, wherever you are. We'll have a lot of stuff over on Patreon the next couple of days. So if you'd like to join us over there, we'd love to have you. But we're just happy to have you here and happy to have you be a part of a season that has been extraordinary. I think eclipsed last season for most of us. I mean, I would say almost all of us at this point, which we didn't think was possible. And yet, can it deliver the ultimate joy? I think what I would take as an outcome, you guys, I would take City losing to Fulham. We beat United. Then City losing to Spurs. And we just go into the final day as champions. I would take that. guard of honor from Everton. That'd be fine. There are a lot of outcomes that could happen, but that's one I would take. I don't know about you. All right, we'll leave it there. Clive's on Twitter at ClivePFC. Thanks, Clive.
Thank you very much.
Tim's on Twitter, Stominator. Thanks, Tim.
My pleasure as always.
Just keep winning. That's the remit. Just keep winning and let the chips fall where they may. My name's Elliot Smith. You can block me on Twitter. Ain't gonna be love you. And we'll talk to you after Arsenal 10 United 0.